Guys, I'm back again, and today very excited to have a really good, close personal friend and a persona. So it's Phil Stevenson, but nowadays perhaps better known as the Mortgage Nerd. The Mortgage Nerd has been just killing it with videos and video content, and he's been in the mortgage game a long time. And so right now is such a volatile time for mortgages and housing, etc. So I'm really excited to talk to Phil. Phil, tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Awesome. Thanks, Brett. Thanks for having me here. Uh, yeah, I've been in the business since 2005. So I was around during the market going up and then the market crashing. Didn't do anything else. I didn't get a part-time job at Starbucks. I didn't do anything like that. Rode the wave and, fortunately came out of it doing well and, have built a very nice career because of it and started my own company in 2012. And Mortgage Nerd, the persona came out the beginning of 2019, but I always called myself a nerd with the numbers and stuff like that, which is where it kind of came from.
Backing up just a little bit, for a while, you were the number one reverse mortgage lending, person, company, etc. If not Miami, the greater Southeast. And, I know that was really hot for you for a while. So tell us
Mhm.
quickly about that.
So going back to the Great Recession, the market crash, 2008, I have a real estate license that's inactive. I don't ever try to compete with the realtors that send me business, but I keep it because why not? But back then I was using it along with my mortgage license, trying to get whatever I could. Short sales were big back then, anything to drum up some kind of business. And then the first reverse mortgage I ever wrote was for my grandparents in June of 2008. And after that, I joined a company that was really getting their feet wet with reverse mortgages and learning and growing, and became a very big presence here in South Florida with reverse mortgages. So we started to thrive while other people were getting out of the business because we were focused on reverse mortgages, which for those that don't know, it's for people 62 and over, 60 and over, depending on the program you use now with some of the private ones. And even though the values were declining, the demand was rising because of the market and the economy. And so we did really well. And 2011 to 2017, we only wrote reverse mortgages. My company, from when I started in 2012 through 2017, really 2015 to 2017, we were the number one reverse mortgage broker, reverse mortgage company in Florida as far as their production. And I had 26 different loan officers in 6 states. And, so we were doing really well with that.
That's wild, man. I mean, that's fast growth, incredibly successful. So you navigated the 2008 downturn, and then some changes hit, which then had you pivot again regarding the reverse mortgage lending rules, right? Because then you
Yep.
had to shift once again.
For several years, that same time period where we were number one in Florida, 2015 to 2017, there were several changes. 2015 was probably the biggest, where we look at credit and income now for reverse mortgage. Before it was you're 62 and over, you have equity, you qualify, here you go. But they want to make sure they can afford their taxes and insurance and they're not going to go into foreclosure. Everything was to protect the borrowers, to make sure that they lived in the home for the rest of their lives. Um, Other changes too, I'm not going to get into, but the point is it helped them, but it didn't help us as those that make money off of, or our livelihood is closing these loans. So by 2017, actually, I remember you here at my building picking me up to go to a game, and me kind of telling you, because I was down in the dumps. I'm like, man, yeah, I've got to shift. I got to get back into all mortgages and kind of relearn stuff because it's been years. But now here we are, almost 3 years later, because the decision was August of 2017, and just really blowing up again, with reverse being about 20% of the business that we do.
Yeah, I remember that day very well. And it's like you're almost a certified, maybe unofficially uncertified pivot expert. And maybe that has to do with your background in the military. Maybe it doesn't, but you seem to be extremely resilient when I mean, all of us, we say down in the dumps. If a big change comes, we're going to take a moment to kind of catch ourselves, right? But you've been able to continually adjust your message, your marketing, and your business to whatever is thrown at you. I mean, and that takes us now to what's going on in coronavirus. So I don't know, maybe your big skill and something people don't talk about. It's not just the service that we deliver. It's the way that we're engineered, right? And your resiliency is just incredible.
Well, thank you for that compliment. It's a great compliment, especially coming from you. So yeah, the part of my 2008 was a bankruptcy. I went into bankruptcy because I owned several properties. So at 22, I bought my first property, and 2007 I was 27. I had owned 7 properties, I think it is, all of which obviously soon went underwater, and I wasn't making money. So that was one learning. Either way, it was a good point in my life because I was able to build on that and learn from it. And then now again, so when I said I shifted from reverse mortgage to regular mortgage, it wasn't an easy transition. Reverse mortgages were pretty much dying. We were making a lot less money per loan. So 2018, you kept hearing all this stuff. Oh, you need to be a direct lender to offer forward mortgages, which is conventional FHA, VA, what most of us get. So I joined a company, became a branch of theirs, similar to a franchise, but when you have so many people with their hands in the pot, their rates were high. So I got out of there. I said, I'm going to become a lender myself. I became a direct lender. Really, it doesn't matter. It's whatever is best for the client. Brokers, lenders, they're all very similar. But yeah, being able to in those times realize where you are. In 2018, realizing that I was going through my own recession, lost money to keep my employees employed, to keep my business operating. So essentially, those downtimes, when you learn from those failures, it's all about preparing for the next time. So when coronavirus hit, I was ready. I had funds saved, all my videos, if you go back and look at them, it's all about telling people, listen, you need to be ready for this. You need to cash out your mortgage. In early March, I was telling people this on Facebook Live. And 3-4 weeks later, cash outs became very expensive, very difficult. So you've got to learn from these events and just build on it, because that's what life is about, failures and successes.
Absolutely, man. And one of your videos which really stuck out to me is you were talking about some people saying, just don't do anything right now. Wait, because the market's going to crash, and in 6 months you can pick up a house for a lot less than you can now. And you did a video saying you can, and let's say the house drops 10% in price. Here's what you'll save, but because mortgage rates are so low, here's what you're losing by not moving now, because people just fail to know how to do the math or to actually crunch the numbers themselves. And your videos have blown up. Your YouTube watch rate is really going through the roof last time I talked to you. So, kudos to you, man. And thank you for taking the mortgage nerd seriously, because you don't just put on the glasses, you get into some seriously educational stuff for those of us that don't know that much about mortgages.
Yeah. And it's true. When you understand the numbers, you understand a lot of what's going on. And even now, clients that I'm getting, they're making multiple offers and they're increasing the asking price. So to go back to what you were saying, people are saying, oh, I'm waiting for values to drop. I was saying before this recession, there's videos of me saying there's going to be a recession in 2020, maybe 2021. I had no clue it was COVID. No one did. But we were due for one. So I was saying back then too, we are not going to see a drop in values because everyone thinks about the most recent trauma, whenever something's coming. So everyone thinks about the value crashes last time. It's a reality for us now. But the real estate market was extremely strong and healthy, and the lowest rates in history coming into COVID, and now coming out of it, rates are at the lowest in history. The end of last week, we had a little blip. They went up about 0.1%, but they're back down. So that right there is enough to fuel what you were saying. A year and a half ago, someone bought a $450,000 property where the rates were about 5%. Now they buy a $600,000 property with the rates about 3%, and their payment is almost the same. So why would anyone think that the market's going to crash when there's multiple offers on every property that I'm looking at for financing, and we have these historical low rates?
Look, I wish we had more time. As you and I know, people's attention span is a few minutes. So I have follow-up questions, but maybe people can reach out to you and watch your videos. So tell us how someone can find you.
You could look up Phil Stevenson Mortgage if you Google. You can also look it up on pslending.com. So my initials for Phil Stevenson are psmortgagelending.com. They're both the same. You could check out the website, see all the programs that we do offer. My specializations are reverse mortgage and VA mortgages because I am a veteran. You see there's a picture of me back there in Iraq. So I work a lot with veterans, and my whole thing with veterans is I hook them up because I know that veteran, I know how we think as veterans. They're going to go tell your battle buddy, and they're going to tell someone else. So, I make sure to beat everyone out when it comes to those types of mortgages. But at pslending.com.
That's awesome, dude. Thank you for your service. Thank you for education. Thanks for making the education fun. That's a huge component, and really being a leader out there. So I enjoyed our time, man. Thanks for being here.
Awesome, Brett. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you all for watching.